Hi, Steve Riley. Welcome to another episode of Great Practice, Great Life. And we're here today to talk to Ross Albers. Ross, how you doing?
Oh, fantastic. Thank you for allowing me to come on the show.
Look, you've got a great story. You built a heck of a firm, and I appreciate you taking the time so you can share with our audience, our friends, how they can learn some lessons from you, some hard-learned lessons, things that you're like, oh,
Sure.
don't do that, to maybe some shortcuts, some success strategies. So
Yeah.
we really appreciate you taking the time. We appreciate you being here. And thanks. Thanks for joining us. So it's our pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
So here's the first question. Ross, how do you get started? I mean, you're running a large practice.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about your practice first so people can understand what you're doing, where you're at, the role that you play because you currently don't practice,
Yep.
but the role you play. Talk about where you're at, and then let's back up to talk about where you started. Does that work for you?
Yeah, sure. So we're here in our new headquarters in Timonium, Maryland, which is just north of Baltimore. We have 13 attorneys, um, support staff, law clerks, paralegals, executive assistants, practicing kind of a full service, law firm feel, I guess. I like to describe it as the type of law that the everyday person would need. So criminal, personal injury, estate planning, business litigation, transactional work, and family law. And we recently acquired a residential commercial title company that's now part of our practice. So we're doing residential law and commercial law and things like that. So, um, full service firm in the sense that, client can come in here for a personal injury matter and we can receive referrals for them or do all sorts of different type of work, and they can walk out of here with an estate plan as well. So that's the makeup of the practice at the moment. Uh, my role is, I guess, one of leader and CEO, and I guess in law firm terms, managing partner, if you will. And I've really stepped back from the actual day to day of practicing law probably about 7 years ago to put all of my focus on working on the business as opposed to working in it, which I'm sure something that your audience is familiar with. And that's the story. And that's where the firm is at now. The title company has probably about 15 people total as well. So we're around, we're in the 30, 40 range of full-time employees.
Now, one of the skills that you've developed, one of the talents that you, and I know you'll say that you're still developing it, is something that you call authentic leadership. What does that
Sure.
mean to you?
Well, I guess the best way I would describe it is, uh, you know, great practice, great life, right? Is the title of your podcast. And I think an authentic leader is somebody that makes sure that the lawyers, paralegal support staff that are working for them, that leader is making sure that they have a great practice and they have a great life. Where most people who own their own business, I believe, in my opinion, they're focused on their great practice, their great life. And they don't think about what's the great practice and the great life that I'm providing for the people that want to come and spend 40 hours a week with me. And so really you have to flip it. And an authentic leader is somebody who views himself as working for his employees and not the other way around. And, you might call it servant leadership. That's often a term that's used, but I think that's what an authentic leader is. It's somebody that is focused on making sure that the people that are a part of his firm have a great practice and a great life. You're only going to grow your business and your practice with and through other people. And what's going to attract people to your firm or your company is if you create a culture and environment where they can achieve the goals and the things that they want to accomplish. And all you're doing is focusing on yourself. I don't think that's a great practice, great life. I think that's a great job you've created for yourself. I think you need to be thinking a bigger picture about who can I recruit and attract to come and want to work here such that 10, 15, 20 years from now, they look back and they say, man, being a part of that company really changed my life and my family's life. And I have a legacy because of it. So that's how I perceive it.
How do you hold people accountable? How do you have performance measurements?
That's the hardest. That is, I struggle with that every day. I spent the better part of today meeting one-on-one. We just finished Q1, having some quarterly meetings with people, uh, having those uncomfortable conversations or having those great conversations about achieving their goals. So how do you hold people accountable? Uh, I would say there's one word you should remember: clarity. You should be very clear with them what your expectations are. And you should talk about it every single day. And you should be checking in with people every single day, every single week. And it should be an open conversation. You shouldn't wait a year to do a performance review with somebody. You should have a performance review every single week with your direct reports. Provide that clarity, keep them on track, remind them where the company's going, how they're a part of that, what their role is, and then make sure that, you know, they're holding up to their end of the bargain and you're doing what you say you're supposed to be doing. So how do you do that? It's clarity. It's constantly being clear about the expectations.
Let's talk about that a little bit more because when you went from working off the dining room table to where you're at now,
Yes.
which, by the way, congratulations on the brilliant work.
Thank you.
The If you were trying to coach or advise another lawyer who's listening to this episode, what would be like the 3 things that you said would be the elements of defining clarity or what clarity looks like? Because they're like, "Well, of course I'm clear. I've told them they should know this, right?" How would you give advice to a lawyer on specifics or practical advice what clarity looks like in a day-to-day manner?
So one of the things that we do is weekly one-on-one reports with our direct reports. So you should have that regularly scheduled. Maybe you do it on Mondays. The day doesn't matter as well, as long as it's the same time every week for about 15 minutes. Checking in with them. Um, I would also say being willing to have those uncomfortable conversations of, hey, I noticed you were under your billable hours last week. Tell me what's going on. How can I help? I think another strategy that helped us as well was providing people with tools to, you know, report their activity, right? Um, that got them to have to physically write it down and show us what they're doing. So I would say weekly direct reports with your direct reports, having some sort of, maybe it's a spreadsheet, maybe it's just a piece of paper, something where everyone's writing down what it is I'm supposed to be accomplishing and am I on track. But I would also say with clarity comes, you know, the expectations of where the company is going, where it's headed, what's the desired future, and how they are a part of that. And when you can create that vision for people, I think it helps them see the clarity around, okay, well, here's how I fit into this, you know, part of his vision, and here's what I'm supposed to do. So, you know, you're not people, I would tell you, you're not meeting enough with your people. You're not meeting enough with them, and you're not having enough conversations where you're being clear. Most of the people just do it once or twice. Maybe it's quarterly, maybe it's just once a year. I mean, you got to do it all the time, constantly, and have a way to track it, and then be motivating them with the desired future of where you're going to go. Those are the 3 things that I would work on.
Is there a training process that you think is critical in your firm for ramping somebody up?
For most small law firms, myself included, I don't have a month to train people, right, on how to do things. But I do think as you scale and as you grow, you do need to have some sort of training, onboarding checklist that you're going to follow to make sure that people understand how to use the systems. And that certainly is something that I've struggled with as we've grown quickly. It's always like, you know, keep growing, add more team members. And I think what falls behind is, hey, make sure they know how to use our systems along the way. So as you scale and as I've scaled, you know, we're getting ready to onboard our next law clerk class for the summer. And we're already starting to have the discussions. All right, what does their first week look like? How are we going to indoctrinate them into our culture? How are we going to train them? What's the training schedule for these operating systems to get them comfortable with it? Like most small businesses, we hire somebody, we throw them in the deep end and we hope they succeed. Well, that's not authentic leadership, right? And I'd throw myself into that category too. That's been my approach, and that's wrong. And as I've grown, I begin to see, wow, we really got to invest some time with people to make sure that they're on board, because the time that I put up front will pay off. And the time that I don't use training them, I might spend 2 years trying to get them to get acclimated on how we do things. And so that's, it's hard because when you think about it as an attorney, training is not a billable hour. It's not making me any money in the short term, but in the long term, it just pays off dividends for you. And so you got to be willing to invest that time and have some sort of plan for the onboarding.